Ready. Go.
This is Andrea Yount with We are preparing for Therapy Thursday, our weekly broadcast on mental health topics. Therapy Thursday is brought to you by Affinity Counseling Services and A Lovely Pause. This is a test.
Affinity Counseling Services is located in Pickett, Arkansas and Kennett, Missouri. We currently have 4 therapists in our office and are taking new clients. To join our waiting list, you can visit counselingwithaffinity.com, and to find out more, you can call me, Kindred, at 870-324-5122, or for our Missouri location, 573-840-0440. Thanks.
And A Lovely Pause is a local nonprofit created to provide community education and awareness, coping skills, and support to people with PTSD and other trauma-related disorders. This month, subscribers to our newsletter, The Pause, will receive a free relationship goals worksheet. Use our worksheet to keep up with what you learn on Therapy Thursday this month and make future goals with our relationship bucket list. Visit us online at alovelypause.com, or find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Again, this is a test. Therapy Thursday will be starting soon. This is a test. Today's topic is Grow Your Love, Bloom Through Adversity, Understanding Your Attachment Styles.
Just bring one over here. Thank you. Mayan frame. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're ready.
Therapy Thursday normalizes discussing mental health topics in a safe, supportive environment, because not being normal is normal.
Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment here at Affinity Counseling Services, where we talk about different mental health topics from a personal and professional perspective. My name is Matthew Yount, lead therapist and president here at Affinity Counseling. To my right is my wife, Andrea, vice president
Hi.
at Affinity and president of A Lovely Pause. To my further right is Stacy, our marketing director here at Affinity and vice president at A Lovely Pause.
Howdy.
And behind the camera, as always, taking your comments, questions, and concerns on Facebook, Kindred, our office manager and secretary at A Lovely Pause.
Yes.
Okay. I think I will have it fully next time.
And I'm also answering questions on YouTube as well.
Yes, and you have a mic back today.
I do have a mic today.
Yay!
Although that stand is like incredibly tall.
It does lower, like it lowers to right here, but it was still too tall.
Too tall, even lowered. That's okay. We'll switch it out because I'm getting tired of hunching over like this anyway. Maybe
Right.
I can do better if I'm like standing
Yeah.
straight up. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay,
You know?
we'll switch it out after this. So we are talking about attachment styles today.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're the one that actually brought this to my attention. This is not really a subject that I had studied before. Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely understand there are different methodologies people use to attach and different ways that people attach in relationships, but I've never really gone over the names or looked at any quizzes. So while I can talk about them,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about it from the perspective of the way the material was written, just what I know about these different types of styles.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
It is.
As far as, so.
Yeah, it's not anything that you like need a college degree or anything to be able to understand. Now, to work with, yes.
Oh, yeah.
But to understand, no.
No.
Okay, so we're going to be going over attachment styles today. How did A Lovely Pause do with their very first fundraiser?
Oh, yes. Thank you for remembering. We did our Yeti raffle after the Super Bowl at Forest Roots Bar and Grill, and we raised over $1,000 in our raffle. So thank you for everybody who bought a raffle ticket and supported A Lovely Pause. And Scott Hartwell was the winner of the Yeti cooler.
Congratulations. $20 well spent. So we'll be doing, you guys will be doing, I keep saying we, I ain't a part of it.
Yeah.
You guys will be doing another fundraiser in the near future. And I think you're actually meeting tomorrow night to determine like what
Yes.
that's going to be.
Yes.
So looking forward to some fun ideas. I bet it's going to involve something really cool because we're trying to escalate the fun and like and the presence of these fundraisers as we continue to go.
We put the fun in fundraisers.
We sure do. Yes, we do.
I'm so
New
excited.
slogan, guys.
It is a good slogan.
We have had a few people sign up to be volunteers, so thank you for doing that. That's
Yeah.
exciting. We are still in process of figuring out like those types of things. So we will get a hold of you probably next week if you have signed up to be a volunteer. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you can sign up if you want on our website, a lovely pause, pause.com.
All right, let's get into talking about attachment styles. So, attachment, as we're discussing here, is like different methodologies or ways that a person feels connected to another individual.
The way that they bond or attach to other people, and it doesn't necessarily mean relationship wise, but you usually see these play out more dramatically relationship wise.
Yes.
But you can also see it, in other types of relationships as well. It's how people form attachments with people, and from their learned experiences or their past, the way that they have been formed those attachments in the past.
Okay. Now, this might then help some people better understand why they can be this calm, cool, collected type of individual outside of a relationship. But like once they get in a committed relationship, they fall apart or they start seeing behaviors out of themselves they don't normally see. And they're like, why do I act this way when I'm in a relationship? Like I can be cool all the time when it's just me. But if I'm in a relationship, I start acting weird.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this can explain some of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to go over them real quick?
Sure.
What they are? And
No,
then we
I want to
can-
go over them real slow. I need to take up 30 minutes.
Okay, yes. I just mean we'll go over like what they are, like the names of them real quick, and then we'll go through what they are.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
there's secure attachment, and then there's anxious preoccupied attachment, and then there's dismissive avoidant,
Okay.
and then there's fearful avoidant.
Okay. All right. So which one are we starting with first?
We'll start with secure attachment because it's the easiest.
Okay. It's the least dramatic one. So it'll be quick and get out of the way because nobody wants to talk long about anything that's good.
Yeah, you were like the poster boy of secure attachment. in my
I would
opinion.
say maybe 85% of the
Yeah.
time, but no, there's,
you
there's
do
plenty
have-
of times
you
that I
do-
have insecurities.
You do have now. This doesn't mean you don't have insecurities. Everybody's going to have a little bit maybe of other things. And I was telling Stacy it was weird because yesterday I was scrolling through Facebook and NPR released an article about attachment styles with a quiz attached to
Yeah.
it. And so I shared it and I was like, hey, we're going to be talking about attachment styles. So if you want to know what your attachment style is, here, check it out. So I retook
to
the
our
quiz.
page.
Yeah, it's on a lovely pause. And so I took it again because I hadn't taken one in a while, and I liked this one because not only did it tell you like what your attachment style was, but it showed you what your percentages were on each of them. And so we'll get into what I was later, but we were talking about how your attachment styles can change based on your relationships and based on your awareness as you get older.
Okay. So what is the secure attachment style?
So secure attachment is someone who has grown, you're growing up your childhood, you had a very loving, supportive home, you never felt unsafe, you had all those basic needs met, you had a secure attachment with your parents and the people around you when you were
Okay.
a kid. Growing up in high school, you had secure attachments with your friends. You didn't worry about trying to be in a relationship. You were just very secure in yourself, independent type of person.
Okay, so I want to challenge that a little bit because I was not necessarily that way in high school. I was very secure in some ways, but I did not have the healthiest of relationships. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't like abusive or anything, but I was definitely too enabling
Yeah.
and too.
So maybe you do have a little bit of an anxious attachment.
Oh
style.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that I do.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that I don't know if it's fair to say that you start off with an attachment style based on your childhood and that it stays the same.
No, it's like we were talking. It's definitely going to change as you get older. So these are the different times in your life. If you, in a kid, you had a secure attachment with your parents, you're more likely to have a secure attachment later. How your relationships in your teenage years, like with your peers and your teachers and things like that, that's also going to affect your attachment style. So if you had a harder time in high school, you might pick up some of that anxious attachment that you didn't get at home, from home. But you're still going to be more secure. So maybe like you're somewhere you got an anxious attachment. But you have a base secure attachment. You're pretty good on your own. You're pretty secure in your relationships. You might have a little bit of anxiety because of something that happened along the way, which is probably going to be most people.
Yeah, sure. Even people with really secure attachment styles.
Yes.
So one of the things I see on here for the cheat sheet you made me, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Is that they seem to know how to maintain boundaries while participating fully with intimate partnerships.
Yes.
So they know how to not only draw their own boundaries, be assertive, but then they can let themselves go and be into a relationship fully, knowing that they have boundaries where they cut people off and go, this is where I don't cross.
They trust their own judgment. They're secure in themselves.
So they tend to be confident too, it says.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Don't get lost in their relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't seem to experience a lot of enmeshment is what I would take that from. Enmeshment is like this. It's like, I don't know where you end and I begin. So
There's
if you
not
feel,
a lot of codependency.
Yeah, there's a lot of dependency, and then there's a lot of the ideas of, if you feel a certain way, I must feel that way too. And your emotions directly, not just influence, but are my emotions. And I don't know how to separate myself from you. And I see, we see that happen a lot in adolescence. Adolescent youths, they get in this type of relationship a lot where they're like, I'm so in love, and they're mad. Well, I must have done something wrong. Are they mad at me? Oh, they're mad. I guess I should be mad too. It's it's a very immature type of love, but the secure style is more like, hey, you have your feelings, I have mine. Yes, your feelings influence me, but I don't feel responsible for your feelings. I feel responsible to help you work through them.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that I caused all your feelings.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I feel like as you grow and the more healthy relationships you have, the more you can cultivate that secure attachment. Because like what we were talking about, the better relationships that you have, it's going to either make you more aware, one, of your attachment styles. And then you're going to be aware of those reactions that come out because of that attachment style. So you'll be able to pull that back and actually change that. So
Okay.
it's not that once you have an attachment style, that's how you're going to be for the rest of your life. You may have those tendencies, but you can begin to change those tendencies.
Okay. And I see a few other things here. They expect the same from their partner in the sense that they expect their partner to have their own identity.
Yes.
They expect their own partner to have boundaries. They have an optimistic view of relationships. They don't jump into them pessimistically. They tend to think, oh, no, I think this can go well.
Right.
Or has a chance to. And they tend to have a strong identity of who they are.
Right. And they're not those people who feel like they constantly have to be in a relationship too, or have someone, they can be by themselves.
They choose their relationships.
Yes,
There's this book that our good friend Teresa had recommended to us. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. And something that he said, I'm almost to the end of this book, finally. It's a big one, but worth a listen or read if you guys are so inclined. But something that was said in that resonated with me is that healthy people are not going to seek unhealthy attachments. They are going to pick up on those red flags, and they're going to be like, not to say that like they're perfectly perfect and that their partners are perfectly perfect, but overall, like those partners are going to be ones that are like, have a pretty decent sense of self and understanding of like how to be in relationship with another one,
Right.
without being toxic.
Exactly. And if they're not there in some places, they're open to that growth. Because I mean, being open, you don't have to be perfect as long as you're open to growth.
Yes.
And that means that's a lot.
Okay. So then the next style is the anxious preoccupied. All right. So tell me a bit about that one.
So that's more like people pleasing. That is my attachment style. I would have thought that it was the last one, the fearful avoidant, but I figured that's more like what I was in my early 20s when we first got together. That's probably about what I was, but now I can see that I'm more of an anxious preoccupied. actually got 100% on the anxiety.
You're 100% anxious.
So, but what that is it's people pleasers. Always feels like they have to do something to prove themselves, more pessimistic in their relationships, less secure, more thinking that people are going to, leave them, that kind of thing. It's more of a abandonment issues, like you're constantly trying not to be abandoned, or whatever. So
Okay.
that kind of you're constantly trying to feel like you're worthy or whatever for any reason, usually your own self, usually past like abuse, emotional abuse
Okay.
can make you feel that way.
So it says people with this attachment style are usually more anxious about their relationships than a person with a secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Partners with an anxious preoccupation attachment style may feel a greater need for reassurance and affirmation.
Yes, so you constantly feel like you need to know where, like you were talking earlier, you constantly feel like you need to know where you stand with people. You're like, okay, or if you get in an argument, you might be automatically be like, oh my gosh, are they going to leave me? That kind of thing. Definitely an abandonment type feeling.
And then you internalize that as like, instead of it being something that perhaps is that other person's issue, you take that into yourself of being like, oh, well, I made them mad because what I did was, must have been wrong, or, like I must not be good enough in this way. And that's not always the case. And I think that maybe that's where like some codependent relationships can stem from those anxious attachment styles.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And for sake of like remembering, codependency psychologically is I'm dependent on you and you're dependent on something else. So it's like I'm the partner with the alcoholic because they're dependent on alcohol. I'm dependent on them being dependent on alcohol because that gives me a purpose. I can help clean up their messes, be there for them. They're going to need me. The more dependent they are on something else, the more they need me. So we get into these senses of, if you're anxious a lot and you're like, okay, I don't know where I stand, this could go bad. You might want your partner inadvertently to be more dependent on something so they're not going to go anywhere. I mean, have you kind of seen, sorry if I'm talking to anybody directly, if you feel attacked by this, sorry. So have you ever seen those individuals that like they get a partner and then they do everything they can to help that partner look worse? Like they feed them a lot and then they make sure that they're not working out, they're not doing anything to better themselves. They want to keep them home more because they're like, all right, now that I got you, I need to make you as undesirable as possible so that your chances of going anywhere decrease. And now you need to stay with me because nobody else will want you because that's what they do. They try to put you in a situation to make sure that nobody else would want you because they need you to need being with them. So they try to make your life as unhealthy as possible. And they say like, oh, I just want them to be with me all the time, or I just want them to do it I just do all of this out of love. I give them all of this stuff, and it's, you're enabling them, you're making them dependent, you're making them seem like less attractive, and you're isolating them so that they don't go anywhere. And I would assume some of that falls from this type of style that's pessimistic and afraid that everything's going to end. I've got to do something to nip this in the bud and make sure nobody else wants this person.
I think that would maybe fall more under dismissive avoidant.
Let's talk about dismissive avoidant then.
Okay.
It's the next one.
Dismissive avoidant are people who they can seem really cold and distant, or a lot of times they are narcissistic, or they come off as narcissistic because these are those narcissistic tendencies that they have, not because they have narcissistic personality disorder, but because of their attachment style. And so it's dismissive avoidant. So they're terrified, and they're so terrified of that, that they'll go to you and they'll like want to, and they'll do all these things and be great, and you'll have a relationship, and it'll start getting serious, and then they'll be like, no, and then they turn to go the other way. I was very much this way at one time. Like I think we all kind of go through these different, how long we stay there is based on probably how healthy we are. Like, you know what I mean?
And maybe who we're with. Too.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, like how healthy you are. So how healthy your mindset, how long you stay in that situation. But we all kind of go through these different types of I feel like bounce around within our lifetime. But anyway, so it's people who are like, I want to love you, but I don't want to get too close. They've got that guard up. So then they'll show you that they love you one day, and then the next day, like, you don't hear from them.
Right.
So it's those type of people who are like, I love you, but I love you, but. And so it may not be coming from a place of narcissism necessarily. Not that they think that they're better than you, or that you're
Or
beneath
that it's
them.
a head game that they're even intentionally
or that
trying
it's a
to do.
a control thing. It's a thing where they're like, yeah, I really want this and it feels really good, but it terrifies them to the point of they have to pull back from it.
Okay, so I don't think the thing I gave earlier as an example fits this, because
Let me see. Did I get that right?
Dismissive avoidant. Well, I would say, because this seems to be the person that's like hot and cold, come here, get away type of individual. It doesn't seem like somebody who's trying to make you dependent on them. They're trying to control you, but they're also like either all in or all out, and they give you these mixed signals.
Yes, these are okay. So dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidant are very similar. So the fearful avoidant is more toward kind of like what I was like as a kid, more or as dating and when we first got together, like with the cabbage story. So like you once it gets to this point and it starts getting serious, you get scared. That's more fearful avoidant. Dismissive avoidant is like,
I think you hit it right with the narcissistic type behavior.
yes, it is narcissistic type behavior. It's more like they have this, they keep you at a distance and they'll show you that love, but they still keep you at a distance. It's never this intimate thing, and it's more like a control thing. And it's more because it's not necessarily it's a tendency of narcissism, but it's a little bit different because it's the way that they're used to forming bonds. It's almost like they are afraid of it, but it's more of a passive thing. Like they won't even let you get close. So the fearful is like, I'll get close to you and then I'll back off. The dismissive avoidant is, I'll treat you good and try to do good, but I'm keeping you at this distance.
Yeah, it says like people with this attachment style can seem cold or distant. People with a dismissive avoidant attachment style may be very wary of commitment to relationships. So they kind of like they like staying in the early phases
Yes.
of the relationship,
Yeah.
but they don't want to go much into the intimacy part. So like you might have like a passionate interaction with somebody like this and think, "Oh, that was amazing," but to them that's as far as they want to go with
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, I say that's better. That's better than getting close and pulling back because they don't really allow you to get very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the last one on here is the fearful avoidant.
Yeah.
You mentioned that. People with this attachment style often find themselves in chaotic relationships.
Yeah. That's the emotional roller coaster. That's the one where you're, I love you, I don't love you, I love you, I'm gonna run away, you better chase me. That's what that is.
Ah, okay. Yeah, those are really annoying. They may experience internal conflict over both their desire and fear of intimate relationships. They may desperately desire the benefits of a close relationship, but may also be afraid of the cost of vulnerability and commitment.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the very hot and cold person.
Yes. This
Like
is-
I'm totally in love with you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not feeling it right now. This leaves people. Boy, I bet this style really messes with the anxious, preoccupied style quite a bit.
Oh yeah, because it would definitely play off of their abandonment issues.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where you can start to see the combination of these styles come together. I mean, if any one of these really tries to mesh with a secure attachment style, given that person is truly a secure person, they can work with some of this, but they only work with it to a point.
That's like what Stacy said. Those secure people are going to pick up on those
Mm-hmm.
red flags. And if you're not at least willing to try to be aware of those red flags, they're going to be
And
like,
overcome
see
them.
you later.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
work to overcome your anxious style.
Yes, yeah.
And you've tried really hard. And, and I worked on my insecurities. You've worked on yours. So we're both willing to try to be better, to make our relationship just more secure. But if any one of these other styles starts to do too much, then the secure person is going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the anxious person, they'll do well with the secure, but they'll think it's weird. They'll be like,
It's very weird.
I cannot tell you how many times I had that conversation with people I was just starting to get into relationships with, and as a person who was trying to practice more of a secure style, I think it made me more insecure eventually because I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm nice to you. I treat you well. I'm there. I don't overly do things. It's like I'm not being overly nice or overly anything. And so to the positive, but you're like, but people are telling me, oh, you're a nice person and you're dependable and you're reliable. And that's weird. So I don't know what to make of this.
That was my main word to describe you when we first started dating. I was like, he's just weird.
It was everyone's first word.
He's
And,
just weird.
and eventually I was just, at first I was like, weird? With most people, I was like, what do you mean by weird? A dependable, reliable, caring person?
You did ask me that. You're like, what do you mean by weird? And I was like, well, you know how to have a conversation and you want to talk about things when you're upset. And like,
Yeah.
you know that. And he's like, so
I think
you
I
mean
s-
I'm normal?
No,
Or
no,
not normal.
I
but
said
you know what I
charming.
mean?
I was
Something like
so
that.
I'm charming. Is that it? Is that a problem?
Well, that's just weird. I'm not used to that. It is weird. And it is weird.
We live in a world of people that are not super aware of themselves and
Yeah.
aware of their things that they need to work on in themselves, not super healthy, right? And so like we've got people that are used to unhealthy attachments, and that's just it. And so like when you
And it's what they go toward.
it is. And so like unhealthy attracts unhealthy, right? And so like I would resonate with the anxious preoccupied. Like so I want to like off of what we were talking about earlier. There is a difference between codependency and dependency.
Yeah, sure.
I was a more dependent kind of person, and so like I would gravitate towards these relationships where I felt like I was always trying to prove myself to be enough for this person. And when I didn't feel like I was enough for that person, then I would like internalize that. And like we would go through these cycles. I would pick people that would be like probably dismissive avoidant or fearful avoidant, one or the other. And like they would, love bomb me until they sucked it all away, and then I would be like, oh God, what do I need to do now? Because like I was anxious preoccupied, then I'd get super neurotic, get in my head about it, like what I needed to do, what was wrong with me, blah de blah. Okay, so done a lot of healing, a lot of growth. Recently have like met somebody that's in a secure attachment style person. I know exactly where I stand with them. I don't have any questions about it. Like we have very good communication. We're like, I don't have to spend that energy feeling anxious and worried about any of that now. So I am now in a secure attachment style because of being with somebody that also has that secure attachment style.
Yeah.
So like we can bring out of each other once you get to a certain level of like healthy within yourself, being able to be with somebody of that nature because you're wanting to grow, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the capability to help each other heal in those circumstances.
Yes. And so, like, now I would consider, for the most part, that I have a secure attachment in my relationships. But I also know that if he has a really bad day and is in one of those moods where he's not talking very much, I'm going to start internalizing that because of my because of my abandonment issues, because of my anxious preoccupied style. That's going to start coming through because even though I'm 60% secure, because that was my percentage on secure, 60% secure, I'm still 100% anxious. So if anything comes up that's going to be any type of issue, then my anxiety starts coming into play, and I'm like, okay. But that's when, if you are like that, that's okay. Just you're aware of it, and then you have to be like, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious, and so then I might need a little bit more reassurance or affirmation, and that's my love language anyway. So bring it on, So
tying back into last week, and
So where can people take this test again?
Well, on A Lovely Pause, I have a couple of different links. Right now on there is there's a link from NPR that I shared from my personal page yesterday.
Is that on your Lovely Pause Facebook page?
It's on A Lovely Pause Facebook page.
Okay.
And then over the next couple of days, I'm pretty sure that I shared a couple more links with some attachments they're scheduled to come over the next couple of days. So.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, if you noticed yourself in any of these and you feel like it's one of the things that gets in the way of your relationships or your just ability to even better understand yourself, we're here to help. That's what therapy's good for. So you can contact us at Affinity Counseling Services on Facebook. You can call us at our Arkansas Piggott office at 870-324-5122 or our Kennett, Missouri office at 573-840-0440, or you can contact us at counselingwithaffinity.com. All right, so one more week on this subject. What's next week's topic?
You've got the list over there.
Oh, me? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Through sunshine and rain, growing a long-term relationship.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, that's kind of like what we've been leading up to anyway. So
Yep.
we will talk about that next week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.